Hello and good evening. Welcome to your Monday night instalment of SPTV live from London here in the United Kingdom. It just keeps getting worse and worse for Scientology in Europe. And today I was approached by some anti-Scientologists, an activist group in Switzerland and Germany, who recently, in the last couple of days, won a case that Scientology had brought against them. And I needed to share this with you guys because it's fascinating. And it was only just the other week that I brought the news to you guys that Scientology were rejected charity status in 1999 here in the UK, and after a Freedom of Information Act request that I put in, the Charity Commission, the UK government, came back and confirmed that they stand by their decision, and Scientology are not able to appeal that rejection here in the UK. It's not a good day to be David Miscavige, as our friend Aaron would say. It's not a day I would want to be in Scientology. It's not looking great for them in Europe. So let's jump into this. If you haven't already, you can check out and support my blog, Scientologybusiness.com. There is a link in the description down below, and that's where I'm publishing news articles and reports and so on that I'm coming across regarding Scientology in the UK, Europe, and Commonwealth, regarding its finances, its business operations, and all that sort of malarkey here in Europe. If you want to submit any stories, by the way, you're more than welcome to contribute. Scientology Business is meant to be a platform. It is a group community project, if you like. If you have some news or anything that you want to write about Scientology, please do send it in. There is a link on the website, Scientologybusiness.com. You can go to submit a story and you can write something, send it in, and hopefully we'll publish it. So if you want to get involved, that's where you can. But today I'm going to bring you the news about this Swiss ruling. Now, this is the article here. The headline, as it very clearly states, Scientology lawsuit backfires. Swiss court rules in defamation case against activists. Now, we're going to go through this bit by bit, and I will explain to you exactly what's gone on. In a nutshell, back during the 2020-2021 period, during the pandemic, Scientologists were called to action. They were asked to don their yellow volunteer minister jackets and go out and distribute booklets called How to Stay Well and Happy, I believe. The actual word, How to Keep Yourself and Others Well is the official title of the booklet. The Church of Scientology claims that over 5 million of these things were distributed. It contained things like how to wash your hands, how to social distance, all those sort of important things that we needed to know about back then. Scientology printed a buttload of these things and distributed them around the world with their yellow jackets on. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but where Scientology messed up was in Switzerland. In Switzerland, an activist group called FASA, which is the Free Anti-Scientology Activists Group, they're on Twitter. I would go and follow them. If you are on Twitter, let me pull them up actually. This is the Twitter group for the activism group, FASA, Freie Anti-Scientology Aktivisten. It is a German account. They're based obviously in Switzerland, talking about Scientology. Go and show them some love if you haven't already. This is the article that I wrote that they've just shared. Essentially, they were approached by a number of local businesses and restaurants, shops, that sort of thing in Switzerland 3 years ago, that were concerned about Scientology. Now, Scientology is not tax exempt or considered a religion or anything in Switzerland or Germany. And so when these volunteer ministers showed up at these shops and restaurants saying, hey, we've got this booklet about how to stay well, the problem is they claimed on multiple occasions that the booklet was created in cooperation with the Department for Health in Switzerland. That is an outright lie. The booklet was not created by the Department of Health of Switzerland. It was created by the Church of Scientology. It was not created with their assistance, their guidance, their approval. They were not involved in any part of the creation of this How to Stay Well booklet. It is entirely a publication thought up and created by, published and distributed by the Church of Scientology. So when Scientologists showed up at these shops and restaurants in Switzerland saying, hey, we have this booklet that we made in cooperation with the Department of Health, these businesses were rightly worried. Now, FASA, the Free Anti-Scientology Activist Group, contacted the Department of Health. They sent them a letter, an inquiry, essentially asking, hey, we've had these people report to us that this is what Scientology is saying, and we want to put those allegations to you and ask, is this true? Is this booklet created by Scientology in cooperation with the Department of Health or not? It was a question, not a statement. The Department of Health came back to FASA and they said, no, absolutely not. We had nothing to do with it. It's entirely Scientology's making, and we were not approached. We were not involved at all. So FASA then posted a post on Facebook. They have a Facebook group in which they said exactly what I just said. They said, we put it to the Department of Health, and they actually put a picture of the response that the Department of Health came up with and said, hey, look, this is what they said. Scientology are claiming that they did this thing with approval of the Department of Health, and that was in fact a lie. Now, this is where Scientology makes a major mistake. The Church of Scientology of Basel in Switzerland then filed a lawsuit against FASA for defamation. They claimed in the courts that the post on Facebook was defamatory, it is libelous, it is spreading false information about Scientology, and they want justice to be served. Now, in Switzerland, defamation is not a civil case, it is a criminal case. So this was handled by the police. 3 years later, 21st of September 2023, which was just 4 days ago, the case finally had a hearing, an evidentiary hearing in Switzerland, and the judge ruled on the case. Now, this is why it was a major mistake. Scientology are the ones that brought the lawsuit to the judge. They're the ones that claimed they were defamed. Now, if you guys are following my channel and have seen any of my other videos, just the other day I uploaded an interview with Jonathan Code, who is a media lawyer here in the UK, who made it very clear that Scientology would find it very, very hard to prove that they have been defamed in any legal case, because Scientology's reputation is already pretty bad. So in order to prove that the reputation has been damaged by someone's actions is nigh on impossible, is what Jonathan Code said. Now, he was referring to British law and not European Swiss law. However, it is important to note that that is how Scientology is seen in Europe. Scientology does not have the religious freedoms and protections it has in the US. So why on earth Scientology thought it was a good idea to sue two activists claiming defamation, I have no idea. Stupid mistake, but they did it anyway. Now, 21st of September 2023 comes along. They have this lawsuit come out and this hearing at the court. And Scientology shows up with no lawyers. What? Scientology showed up just with their spokesperson, whose name escapes me. Where is it? His name was Jörg Stettler. There are two people involved in this case, Jörg Stettler and Dirk Clausen. Now, Jörg Stettler is the spokesperson. They're both spokespeople for Scientology in Switzerland and in Germany. And they're the ones that this case was brought to the attention of. Now, Jörg Stettler showed up to the courthouse in Switzerland alone. He showed up with no lawyers, he had no legal representation, and he showed up and he stood there at the hearing against these two activists who run this group called FASA. Now, I spoke to the two activists earlier today on the phone, and I asked why on earth would Scientology sue someone and then show up to the lawsuit without any lawyers, and they said that their lawyers suggested there were only two reasons. One is they were so confident that they believed they were going to win that they didn't need legal representation, or two, they didn't have the money to pay for legal representation. Now you think Scientology has billions of dollars. What do you mean they have no money? Scientology money all gets funneled up to the top. It all gets transferred over to America, to the Church of Scientology International, where it is tax exempt in America. All of the money internationally goes up lines. That means that the local orgs generally have no money. If you look at the United Kingdom, for example, and their local, their most recent filings here, they show that the Church of Scientology International actually has to loan money to the UK church to the tune of $100 million so that it can stay afloat. Because Scientology is shrinking. Its members have a lot of money, yes, but it's not enough money to keep the whole thing afloat. So local orgs like Basel in Switzerland or Basel don't have the funds to pay multi-million-dollar lawsuits against activists. They do in America, absolutely, and that's why they're spending so much money on cases such as the harassment case that Leah Remini has filed, because they're protecting themselves there. The local orgs don't have that sort of money. So it is entirely possible that the head of OSA or an OSA operative who wanted to file this lawsuit did so perhaps without the approval of international management, didn't ask for the funds to represent them, or just didn't have the money. They just didn't think they'd need to. Or they just thought, look, we're just going to win this. It's not a problem. We're so confident. We don't need lawyers. So whatever the reason, they showed up to court with no lawyers, which in itself, I still can't get my head around. I think it's hilarious that they did that. Anyway, the judge ruled in the case, and they ruled against Scientology. Scientology, who brought this case to the court saying, we've been defamed, show up with no lawyers, and the court goes, shut up. You were not defamed. And they acquitted the activists that brought that the suit was against. So essentially, this is what the article is about. Let me share my screen. If I can zoom in here, you guys can read it. Judges in Switzerland have ruled against Scientology in defamation case they brought against two activists. The 3-year legal battle involved the Church of Scientology Basel, the Swiss Department of Health, and Scientology spokespeople Jörg Stettler and Dirk Clausen resulted in an embarrassing loss for the church. This is the background information that I told you at the beginning of the video about the booklet and where it came from and so on. And these are the activists involved. So Beat and Yolanda Kunzel, who lead the anti-Scientology group FASA or FASA. They were contacted by concerned business owners in Switzerland after being visited by volunteer ministers. According to them, the Scientologists distributing the booklets claimed it was produced with the cooperation of the Swiss Department of Health. Now, this is a picture that Scientology actually uploaded themselves to their own website of volunteer ministers distributing these booklets during the pandemic in Switzerland. This picture was actually taken in Zurich, but it's important to note one of the complaints that was made by one of the business owners was that it wasn't clear the people distributing the booklet were Scientologists. They said they came along and said, we're from the Department of Health, and this is a booklet we've created, and there was no connection to Scientology whatsoever, which is a little bit fraudulent, if you ask me. Now, if you actually look at these yellow jackets, they say volunteer minister on them. They say in very small writing on the roundel under the hood, Scientology, which is not clearly visible here. And there's a Scientology symbol, but if you're not following Scientology, you're not going to know that this is a Scientology cross. You're just going to think this is some sort of Christian cross or something like that. So one of the big claims that the local businesses were saying was these guys were misrepresenting themselves. They didn't come in showing or saying that they're Scientologists and they've created this book. They came in saying, hey, we've got this booklet that was created with cooperation of the Department of Health here in Switzerland, and it's all about how to stay well during the pandemic. Can we place some booklets in your shop to give to your customers? It was only after asking these people 4 or 5 times, according to these business owners, that they then admitted they were Scientologists. This is deceitful action. It is misrepresenting themselves. And this is why the case backfired in the court. Now, let's carry on with this article here. If I zoom back out, aiming to seek confirmation on whether or not this is true, FASA contacted the Department of Health about the allegations and asked whether the government had any input on the Scientology booklet. The response made it clear there was no such cooperation from the Swiss government and the church. FASA posted the news on Facebook, this is what I explained, and 3 years later, an evidentiary hearing was held, and the judges ruled against the courts. Now, the picture that you can see in the thumbnail is this guy. This is Jörg Stettler, who is the Scientology spokesperson for Switzerland and for Germany. And he's the guy that showed up to court with no lawyers, thinking we're going to win this. Now, what's really interesting about this guy is one of the claims he made in the court was a protest against something the two activists said. The two activists referred to him as the head of OSA for Germany and Switzerland, Scientology spokesperson. He slammed his fist on the table and said, that is not true. That is false. Which I just think is hilarious, because he gave a media interview only 2 years ago in which he referred to himself as the Scientology spokesperson for Germany and Switzerland. Jörg Stettler is part of OSA. Jörg Stettler represents and is a spokesperson for Scientology. So when he said in court that he was not a spokesperson for Scientology, he was lying. If there are multiple media interviews that he has done and news articles out there that you can go and find, I've linked to a couple of them in this article where he is referred to as a Scientology spokesperson. So why on earth he thought that was a good point to make in court, I have no idea. I do not know whether that allegation was made under oath or not. I'm not sure whether that was made under oath, but he did say it in court, according to the two people who were the defendants in this case. Now, just carrying on, just to finish it up here, this is if you want to read it, I've translated it into English. This is an excerpt from the defense lawyer's plea that they read to the court about the state of Scientology in Switzerland. And I've pulled some quotes here. So the lawyers for the people that the Scientology was suing said Scientology wants to make criminal proceedings against our clients in order to intimidate them, cause them financial damage, and to discredit them by making a criminal investigation public. They then went on to claim that Scientology's goal is to infiltrate the economy in order to expand its sphere of influence in society. These are the points that the lawyers made for the defendants in the case, and the judges ruled in their favor, and Mr. and Mrs. Kunzel were acquitted on all charges. They won the case, and Scientology has gone walking away from the court with its tail between its legs, having lost a humiliating defeat after showing up to court with no lawyers. Scientology have 10 days to appeal this decision if they want to. That 10 days started 4 days ago on the 21st of September. So by the end of this month, I expect we will have a pretty good idea whether Scientology are going to appeal this decision or not. But for now, the court's decision stands, and Scientology brought a defamation case and then lost it. It is not a good day to be a Scientologist in Europe. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you want to read the article, there's a link in the description. Please get involved. Tell me what you think. I think this is hilarious. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. There's also a PayPal link and a link to my Amazon wish list after a bunch of you asked for that, all in the description. You can also become a channel member if you want to support the channel that way. But otherwise, thank you so much. Liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing is the best way of sharing this information. I am on Twitter. This is where I'm sharing most of the news articles that I'm coming across. And if you come across anything of interest and you think that you have a story about Scientology in the UK, Europe, Commonwealth, please get in touch. My email is hello@apostatealex.com. I'm trying to bring this news to the attention of as many people as possible. This is a major embarrassment for Scientology, and hopefully some of the other SPTV channels will pick up on it soon. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.